influence of our lives. People say they don't influence me. Yes, they do. Because either they're going to influence you to do or not to do. So it's important that we understand that. Many times we do in Christianity because there are books that I really enjoyed reading. And so one of the things that I drew out of one of the books I read was that loneliness is the absence of people. Loneliness is the absence of people. Many times we are afraid to be lonely. So we just accept people that come into our lives, regardless of what their standard is, regardless of what their conduct is, just to say that there is somebody in our lives. But you must understand, if they are not going to direct you and provoke you and push you into the arms, further into the arms of the Abba, then they're no good for you. They're not the effort you put in to try to maintain a relationship with these people. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. And so we are afraid to be alone. But you have to understand, loneliness is the absence of people. What kind of people? The wrong type of people. Because you can still be with them people and be what? Lonely. You still be with them people and be lonely. And on the flip side, aloneness is the absence of purpose. Aloneness is the absence of purpose. See, because you can, are y'all following me?
Yeah.
That's important. Things, either you're going to follow the crowd or you're going to follow the guidance. And you got to understand, there is a crowd in following the Torah. Don't ever believe that there is, it's just a handful of people. No, I beg to differ. There are those of us that have love doing what we do, and we continue to do that. So you must understand, you can't follow the crowd or be with people just because you want to say that, I don't want to be lonely. Because you can still be with people and still be lonely. Are you hearing me? Yeah. But aloneness is the absence of purpose. If you understand your purpose, then you understand you're not alone. You will begin to understand that. So why did I say that? Because I want you to understand our time of affirmation, this put forward our purpose. And our purpose is to develop so that we can grow into a beautiful, yapa budding tree or nation of people that can't be denied, no matter how people desire to do so, no matter what people want to do. You can't deny us that right. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
That's important to understand. Why is it important to understand? Because then we will understand you can't follow the crowd.
That's right.
And many of us are doing that. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. And I know this, are we going to follow in truth or are we going to follow the crowd? Are we going to get involved with a lot of things and so forth? Or are we going to continue to maintain our code of conduct? Because we understand that steeped and wrapped up in our code of conduct is also our purpose. And if it's not going to help me develop into the woman, or it's not going to help you develop into the man or the woman you're supposed to be, then the question is it worth investing in?
Right.
Because if it's not going to take you down that path or up that path, then it's not worth it. It's not worth your investment. An investor knows that, people say investing, you have to take a risk. You take a risk if you have to. I'm going to invest in something that's going to yield to me. I don't have time to be losing. I have to be winning all the time. Are you hearing me? Millionaires are not losers. And we're not talking about money, but I just want to use this as an example. They say, well, we hit our losses and we did this and we did that. But when you deal with people that understand building, because if you're constantly losing, you will never have anything to build upon to say that you have anything. So you can't use that. The bottom line is we're about winning. And a farmer even knows that every year that he plants or she plants crops, her expectation or his expectation is to bring in a harvest. You're winning every year that you bring in a harvest. Because you're doing what? You're following the formula. You're following the method in order to bring that to pass. So we don't have to worry about losing if we follow the method and we follow the path that has been set before us. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline. Because I don't know about you, but I want my purpose. I want my purpose. And sometimes you have to fight for that purpose. You got to fight, number one, against your emotions and your feelings. You got to fight against sometimes your own will, because you want to do what is right. And y'all follow me? So this is why when we talk about our affirmations, the first thing we talk about is our purpose to do what? To develop a ruach. So when we do this confession, remember that this is to help us to become that people and remain that people. You know, it's a consistent. Anybody knows weight training, anybody knows any kind of training. In order to maintain that, you got to stick with it. And I can admit you get to a point where you get tired, where you're not seeing the results as fast as you want to. But anybody understands endurance, resistance. You got to maintain. You got to stay in there. If you want to get that body, you want to get that mind, your body, you want to get that mind, you have to remain committed to the formula or to the method that is given in order to maintain it. You get it, but you got to maintain it. Y'all following it?
Yeah.
That's important. And this helps us to maintain our code of conduct, not just when things are great, not just when things are bad, but on a consistent basis that no matter what comes our way, we can still be that people.
That's right.
Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Very important. All right. I want you to repeat with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibn.
I am Ibn.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibn.
I am Ibn.
I have the life and nature
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
That life is
That life is
the Torah of Yasharal.
the Torah of Yasharal.
I purpose to walk in
I purpose to walk in
the Torah of life.
the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge
Yahuwah's knowledge
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab
Yahuwah's ahab
is in me.
is in me. Yahuwah's power
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching
He
me.
is leading me.
He is leading
I
me.
am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach
The Ruach
HaKodesh
HaKodesh
of Yahuwah in me
of Yahuwah in me
is leading me.
is leading me.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk the Torah,
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so very important for us to understand it is not simple, it is not complex. The commitment that we make to ourselves every Sabbath and every Yom after the Sabbath that we are going to develop, and our development is on purpose. We're not accidentally growing, we're not accidentally developing. It is on purpose because this is what we desire to do. And when you desire to do something bad enough, you stick with it. You let no one pull you away from it because you are looking at the desired results that are going to come after. And those results come because of our consistency. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Very important. Very important for us to understand that. All right. We're going to have one more song, and then after that, another song, and then we're going to bring our declaration in. Let's have another song. We have a song, then we got another song. Yeah.
Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is told. Yes, he is told. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is told. Yes, he is told. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is told. He is told. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is told. Yes, he is told. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is told. Yes, he is told. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is told. Yes, he is told. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is told. Yes, he is worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Oh, give thanks. Yes, he is so. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, give Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is. For he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy. Oh, give thanks, worthy, for he is so. Worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. He is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. He is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. He is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Let everything that has breath praise Yahuwah. let everything, let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. Yeah, 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 let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. 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 Yeah, 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 let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. Let everything
praise him. Let us bow before our King and let us recite this together. Repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth and the deliberation of my heart be desirable before you. O Yahuwah, my rock and my redeemer. May the utterance of my mouth and the deliberation of my heart be desirable before you. O Yahuwah, my rock and my redeemer. And it is so. And it is so. You may be seated in his presence. We appreciate him once again for this time to be celebrating and commemorating a time of rest of all our labor and to fellowship with you and you who thought it not robbery to be with us on this Shabbat. We appreciate him also as we're making preparations for a time of atonement. And I pray that you have gotten everything that you need for that time of rest, for that time of fasting, for that time to afflict your soul, to afflict yourself in that time. So I pray that you have done that. And if you have not, you still have time to get yourself in that time. So I pray that you have done that. And if you have not, you still have time to get yourself. Yes, chapter 24. And we're going to look at something as I was studying. And I know we're still in a time of unmasking the end time beast. And we're going to still maintain that series that the Abba has placed upon my heart. But in times of study, there are times that even when you are doing a series that the Abba will stop you and he will bring something out. And it is for us as a people sometime to stop and reflect or look at what has been or what is being presented to us. And so I want us to turn our attention to chapter 24. And we're going to look at beginning with verse 10. And while you're turning there, I want to read in chapter 23, verse 23, chapter 23, verse 23, while you're turning to chapter 24, verse 10. Now, chapter 23 and 23 says, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe saying, first of all, he said, I am Yahuwah, your power. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe saying, speak to the children of Yasharal, saying, in the 7th month, on the first yom of the month, you have a rest, a remembrance of blowing of trumpets, a set apart mikra. You do no servile work, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, on the 10th yom of this 7th month is the yom of atonement. It shall be a kodesh mikra for you, and you shall afflict your beings, and shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. And you do no work on that same yom, for it is the yom of atonement to make atonement for you before Yahuwah, your power. For any being who is not afflicted on that same yom, he shall be cut off from his people. And any being who does any work on that same yom, that being I shall destroy from the midst of his people. You do no work, a law forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It is a Shabbat or a Sabbath of rest to you. And you shall afflict your being on the 9th yom of the month at evening. From evening to evening, you observe your Shabbat. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yasharal, saying, on the 15th of the yom of this 7th month is the festival of Sukkot, for 7 yamim to Yahuwah. On the first yom is a set apart mikra. You do no servile work. For 7 yamim, you bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. On the 8th, yom, there shall be a set apart mikra for you, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. It is a closing festival. You do no servile work. These are the appointed times of Yahuwah, which you proclaim as set apart gatherings, to bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah, a burnt offering and a grain offering, a slaughtering and a drink offering, as commanded for every yom, besides the Sabbaths of Yahuwah, and besides your gifts, and besides all your vows, and besides all your voluntary offerings, which you give to Yahuwah. So it's important, and I'm going to read it all, and then we'll go to chapter 24. I want to read it all. On the 15th yom of the 7th month, when you gather in the fruit of the land, observe the festival of Yahuwah for 7 yamim. On the first yam is a rest, and on the 8th yam a rest. And you shall take for you on the first yam the fruit of great trees, branches of palm trees, twigs of leafy trees, and willows of the stream, and shall rejoice before Yahuwah your power for 7 yamim, meaning 7 days. And you shall observe it as a festival to Yahuwah for 7 yamim in the year, a law forever in your generations. Observe it in the 7th month. Dwell, in booths for 7 yamim. All who are native Yashuralites dwell in booths, so that your generations know that I made the children of Yasharal dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahuwah your power. Thus did Moshe speak to the Moedim of Yahuwah, to the children of Yasharal. I read that so we could understand. So many of us that have not, or maybe have done it, and you kind of trying to figure out what time or when to do it. Well, it's important that you understand. It begins on next day, which is first day, which is the 27th. I believe it's the 27th. It's the 27th. I'm going to check it again, but it begins at sundown 27th, all the way up until sundown 28th, which would be the next day. It is important, very important, that we adhere to the instructions of the Abba. It is important that you do everything to maintain and to follow his instructions to do so. Now, I know many say, well, I had to work or I had to do this. You have to understand something. We have no time to be continually following up and being disobedient. Now, once you know the truth and you know what you're supposed to do, you are accountable for it. So I pray you make preparations and you do whatever you have to do to make that time, but do not let that time pass you by. And I will make sure to post it up again on my page. So those of you that are questioning, don't know, or you're not for sure what you're supposed to do, you're not supposed to eat any food and you're not supposed to do any kind of work on that day.
That's right.
It is a day of affliction. And if you've never fasted before, or if you fasted, you know what it is. It seems like on that day, that's the day when you be the hungriest of all days throughout the year. But it is still important that you understand that it is a time that we are to afflict ourselves through fasting, not eating of any food. So I wanted to put that, and then following that, we go into a time of Sukkot, a time where we live in booths. Now, many times people say, well, we can't build a booth. If you can get a tent, get a tent. Many times you may not, have the money. And I'm just putting this out there because this is not the text. I already told you where to go, to chapter 24, verse 10. But I want to we're going to come up to speed of what's taking place in chapter 24. But I want to put this out here for us so that we will know what to do. If you can get a tent, or if you can build a booth, and that you could do, if you can't get to a place to where you're outside for 7 days, living in the woods, or living in on a campsite with other Ibram, then you can also buy a tent and be outside your home, as long as it's safe and you don't have to worry about putting yourself in danger. Then I would advise that. I would advise mostly, though, that you be with the people, and that you get with a group of Hebrews and you do it together, so that you're not doing it by yourself. It's 7 days. First day is a day of rest. You treat it just like the Sabbath, and all the rest of the days until you get to the 8th day is a day of doing whatever. You could do whatever you're going to do within those days. But the first day and the last day are days of rest. You do no work. So you make sure your food is ready, and you make sure you do. But you say, well, we can't do that. I can't do that. Well, then the thing of it is make sure that during those times that everything you do, whether you're eating, studying, whatever, do it outside. Do it outside. If you got to make you a enclosure like a booth, do it outside. Like I say, if it's not safe for you to sleep out there, then make sure everything you do throughout the day, you're doing it outside in the booth to commemorate the time that Yashua was in the booth for that 7 days. Because you want to be a part. Now, somebody will say, but if you can't do it the way it's supposed to be done, why do it at all? Why not? Because you got to remember, they dwelt in the booth. So if you're going to participate. Don't let anybody tell you, well, if you can't be at a park, or you can't be here, then don't do it. You still can do it. I've heard of people doing it in their homes, making tents in their homes, and they stay in those tents, and everything they do it in that tent in their home. Because wherever your heart is, there will your treasure be also. So if your heart is in obedience, then you're going to find a way to be obedient within the context. within the context. You're not going to go outside of that. So it's important that we understand these things. And if you can connect with a community, do so, because that's you have to understand that's one of the greatest things that you could ever experience. Being in the midst of our people for 7 days. We've done it I believe three times, twice, 2 to 3 times on our own land. And it was enjoyable. We didn't have everything that we wanted. Things were not like we wanted, but we still had fun. They pitched their tents. We had service. We had plenty of wine. We had plenty of food. So we had a great time, and we had plenty of games to do. We shot our guns. We did what was it, target practice, and I did hit the target. So and so there were many that participated in that, and we had a phenomenal time together, laughing and talking, and above all celebrating the feast and celebrating the instructions of the Abba. So I want to encourage you to do so. Connect with someone and make this happen, y'all, because these are the last feasts for this time until we go into spring. So you want to make sure that you are being obedient to the Abba during these times. And so I wanted to put that out there. And if you're looking for a place, connect with Hebrews, connect with people. Don't wait. And I know I'm coming kind of like, I'm gonna say at the last minute. We're still doing some things, and normally we would have our time open and we would invite people, because when we want you to come, only thing I want you to do is bring your tent. You don't worry about anything but bringing yourself. We want to supply food and want to supply those things. But this time around for us, it is not like we really want it to be, but we are still going to do what we need to do to walk in obedience. But I encourage you to connect. And if you can't connect with anyone, still do your time of Sukkot at home, and make sure that you are doing it and you're being safe in doing it. So I wanted to put that out there for you. If you have any questions, please, after I was asked that you after, if it has anything to do with that, ask your questions after, and if I can answer them, I will. Certainly that time, if I can direct you to some I don't want to say camps, but to some Hebrew congregations that will Torah, that will help you to get into the places that you can, so that you can be a part and you can have that fellowship. Because I'm telling you, it's nothing like for 7 days being out of the city, waking up, hearing the birds chirp, hearing the animals, smelling that fresh air. And then when you have people that can cook great breakfasts, and you wake up and they're cooking, and you got coffee, you got tea, and above all, you're hearing the laughter of your mishpachah. And I'm talking about people from all over, and you hear them laughing, you hear the brothers doing what they do, and you hear the sisters doing what we do, and we just doing it. Now understand, when you come in fellowship with us, we get it all in. We cut wood, we chop down trees, we shoot, we do it all. So and then sometimes we have the brothers helping us in the kitchen. So it ain't a role reversal. So let me put that out there, so we won't scare nobody away. Oh, they do the role reversal. The man be in the kitchen and the women be no. But you have some people that are better qualified and skilled in areas than others. But let me tell you something. If our brothers can get in there and cook, you better know they can get out there in the woods and tear up some stuff. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that we all enjoy doing what we do, and we have the times where we take care of one another. And that's how we do it. So I wanted to put that out there for you, so that you once again can have this experience. And then it's the last feast of our time till the spring rolls around. So I encourage you to be active, get involved, and do what you got to do to make that happen, because it's a time you won't ever forget if you've not done it. If you have, I encourage you to continue to do it. Do what you have to do to be a participant. Now, we want to get to chapter 24. After Moshe was given the instructions to give out these instructions to Yasharal, we find that in the midst of that, something takes place. And it seems, if you read it before, it seems like it's in an odd place, but it's not in an odd place. It's in the right place, because we need to know and be careful of what comes out of our mouths. It is important that we govern our mouths accordingly. Now we're going to look at this, and we're going to be looking at it from 1, 2, 3. I have 4 places that I'm going to be kind of jumping around looking at, but I want us to get out of this the importance of governing our mouths.
Huh.
Your mouth can either cause you to rise or it can cause you to fall. It can even it can even be the cause of your demise, your death. And I'm not talking about with people, I'm talking about with the Abba. So it's important that we be careful with what comes out of our mouth. All right, let's look at chapter 24, and we're going to begin. Let's start at verse 1. Let's go ahead on and let's read from verse 1. And we're going to let everybody read 5 verses. Now you have to read loud. I need you to read loud and clear as we go. If you have it, come on, stand up for me and read the first. Let's say the first 3. Read the first 3 for me.
Leviticus chapter 24,
Mm-hmm.
verses 1 to 3. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Command the Israelite people to bring you clear oil of beaten olive for lighting, for kindling lamps regularly. Aaron shall set them up in the tent of meeting outside the curtain of the pack to burn from evening to morning before Yahuwah regularly. It is a law for all time throughout the ages.
And it is so. All right, let's do verse 4 and 5, please.
Verse 4 and 5. The lamps on the pure gold lampstand before Yahuwah must be tended continually. Take fine flour and bake 12 loaves of bread using 2/10 of an ephah for each loaf. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, let's read 6 and 7.
And thou shalt set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row, upon the pure table before Yahuwah. And thou shalt put pure frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for memorial, even an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah.
All right, and it is so. Let's read 8 and 9.
Every Shabbat he shall set in order before power continually, being taken from the children of Yasharal by an everlasting covenant. And it shall be Aharon and his sons, and they shall eat in the set apart place, for it is most set apart unto him of the offerings of Yahuwah made by fire by a perpetual statute. Verse 10. And the son of a Yasharal woman, whose Abba was an Egyptian, went out among the children of Yasharal, and this son of the Yasharite woman and the man of Yasharal strove together in the camp.
And it is so. All right. Now, let's look at something. Now, look at what they put on the bread. This is, like I said, this is not what we're talking about, but I just want to show. Look at what they put on the bread. Let me put up, okay, let's look at this. Generations. I'll take 5 from bacon, 2 pence, and then 2 rolls and clean. And you shall put clear frankincense on each roll, and it shall be on the bread as a remembrance portion. Yeah, you can eat frankincense, but you have to eat the edible one. You can eat, there's also, I believe you can also eat myrrh, but you have to understand, not the stuff you get that you put on your body. You got different kinds, but they were able to eat it. And I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. Sometimes we read so fast, and the only thing we think about is that myrrh and frankincense are for us to put on our body, but you can't ingest it, but it has to be food grade.
Right.
If it is not food grade, you better not put that in your mouth. It'll tear your kidneys and liver up.
That's right.
But it can be eaten. But I wanted to bring that out to show that there are so many things sometimes that we read. Not saying that you've overlooked these things, but you know, there are times when you read something and it just kind of catches your attention and you say, man, this is phenomenal. So you have to understand, we have spices and we have herbs. And these are things you got to understand, the things that now most of the time they tell you don't put that in your mouth is because of the process it goes through.
God.
If I can't really put it in my mouth, then I have to question, can I put it on my body? Because your body is still absorbed through your bloodstream. It is absorbed through your pores, so it still gets in your bloodstream. So just wanted to put that out there for us. But our topic is to watch our mouths. Now, as we're looking at this, and the son of a Yasharalite, Asha, whose father was Mitzrayim, went out among the children of Yasharal. Went out among Yasharal. And the Yasharite Asha's son and a man of Yasharal strove in the camp. In other words, they got into a fight. They got into a fight. We don't know why they got in a fight. And I'm going to bring a couple of scenarios into play. But when it's all said and done, we're going to focus on what is what is the main thing we want to bring out of this. But they strove, meaning they got into a fight. And the Yasharite, Asha's son blasphemed the name and cursed. But I'm going to show you there's sometimes added stuff. Okay?
Come.
Key thing is he blasphemed. So they brought him to Moshe. Now his mother's name was Shelamite, the daughter of Debrai of the tribe of Dan. And they put him in under guard that it might be declared to them at the mouth of Yahuwah. Now we're going to look at this, and I'm going to read it again. This Yasharite woman who has a son by a Mitzrayim. Now, according to some theologians, this woman was a slave, and she was from the tribe of Dan, and her family was Debrai, and she had a son, and her son was fathered by one from Mitzrayim, meaning that he was not Yasharite, but they were still a part of the camp. Now, follow me with this. Now, many have said the reason why he strove was because, one, he was trying to find, in other words, he wanted a position in the camp close in a place that was not his. Those had the ruling. In other words, there was a ruling that said that he and his mother had no place in that specific place that he wanted, but they were still living there. In other words, he wanted status or position that was not his, based upon his mother and his father. So according to that scenario, and so when he is told no, he gets an attitude and he begins to fight with a Yasharite man. And the fight ensues and he ends up killing the man. But in the midst of him killing this man, he gets angry with Abba Yahuwah. And now he takes his name in vain. That's one scenario. The second scenario is that his mother, who, according to Rashi and anybody who understood, Rashi is one of the commentators, or one of the one who wrote commentaries, and he basically puts in information. And she was called a loose woman, and she was friendly with every man in the camp. And so words were spoken concerning his Ima, and he, being a young man, got angry once again because he was trying to establish his right in Yasharal, and he fights this man, and he ends up killing this man. Now, those are the two scenarios. Now, the thing that I want to bring out with this is that no matter what situation you find yourself in, no matter how rough it gets, you never blaspheme Abba Yahuwah. Mm-hmm. According to many of them, he was angry because he had no position, and his mother had no position. But watch this, but she had a place to live. Mm-hmm. Are y'all following me?
True.
She had a place to live. But he wanted her to have in other words, he wanted to advance her, even though we can only go by what is placed here in the writings. He wanted to, according to some theologians, he wanted his mother to have a better position in the camp, which she, according to many, did not qualify for, which made him angry. And this is what got him angry with Abba Yahuwah, because he wanted a position, and because he was told no first by the council. This is how the second brawl comes about. And he ends up killing the man. And then the first one is because of his mother being ill spoken of. Now, I want to read something to you concerning this to bring a little more clarity to what I was saying. Now, once again, according to Weikra Rabbi Shelamite as a flirt, or Shelamite as a flirt. Yes, excuse me. And 32 and 5 explains that Shelamite Bat, the bride, is mentioned by name to demonstrate that the apple in the form of a son, ready and willing to curse Abba Yahuwah, doesn't fall very far from the tree. Now, once again, these are the different scenarios that are placed out there. As we read in the writings, the only thing we see is that a brawl takes place and this man is killed. So that really gives us nothing to base it upon. But I'm going to put these out here because in the end, I want to show you the bottom line is no matter how angry you get and no matter how frustrating you get, you never bring the Abba in to defame his name. In other words, never blame him for your circumstances or situations. If it doesn't go in the manner you want it, you still have no right to speak ill or to empty his name by not respecting it. Am I making sense? That's important. Now, according to them, as his mother's name was Shelamite, the daughter of the bride of the tribe of Dan, according to Wayikra 24 and 11, she was called Shemilathite because of Levi. Says she was very free with her greetings to men, saying shalom to you and shalom to you. But the bride, because she was brought destruction on her son. So this is why they said she was called, is because she brought destruction on her son. Now, once again, we're building a platform and a case to see what got him in trouble. And it was his mouth. Okay. But I want to put out to you the different scenarios so that you can see how many times we are influenced by what we read because people are trying to fill in the gaps. Now, this is a woman. It doesn't say she was a slave, but it does say that her son was fathered by an Egyptian or Mitzrayim. So now we could even say that his father was the one who caused him to be that way. We could say it was his mother, but we can only go by what the judgment that fell upon him came was because of his what? His mouth. His mouth. His mouth. And this is why we have to be careful with our mouths. According to the Midrash, the blasphemous mother stands out for her excessive friendliness to men. She is called Shemilathite, yes, because she is discriminate in her associations, offering greetings and practicing promiscuity with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Now, once again, this is not what is in the writings, but this is what has been brought forth because she's a what? A woman. And she has a son. Are y'all following me? Yeah. And because she has a son. And it says who the daddy is. Now, once again, let us look at what is being said. She is here in the camp. Whatever happened, it was acceptable because they have not been put out. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Am I saying that this is acceptable and that we're supposed to have these practices? Absolutely not. But what I am bringing out is you must watch your mouth. It doesn't matter who your mama or who your daddy is. If you know you are walking in truth and you are in a place and you are being taken care of, then don't try to move your status bar if it has not been given to you to do so. People want things because of what they see other people have. Are y'all following me? All right. Now, this is what Rashi says. She is a strumpet. The Shelamite as a strumpet. Rashi, according to Wayikra 24 and 11, takes the Midrashic tradition one step further. Now, mind you, Midrashic meaning from the Judaizers and the Jewish perspective. Are y'all following me? That's where it comes from. So this is now putting her in a position to where she is looked upon as being a harlot when the writings say that her son was fathered by an Egyptian. It doesn't say if she was a slave. It just says that this is who the boy's daddy was, right? All right. Now, listen what it says. And it says, takes the Midrash tradition one step further, suggesting that the Shelamite explicit naming designates her not just as a gossip or flirt, but as a strumpet. As his mother's name was Shelamite, the daughter of the bride, it is to praise Yasharal that her name was publicized to say that she and only she was a harlot. But once again, let's go back to verse 10. It does not say she was a harlot. does it?
No.
In other words, let's put the blame where it belongs. This is where I want to get us to understanding. You are going to be judged by your own consequences.
Mhm.
By your own actions, you bring about the consequences to your life. That is what I want to bring about. All right. Now, in other words, Shelamite is mentioned by name and not merely called an Israelite woman to distinguish her from the other women of Yasharal who do not share her bad character. Now, mind you, Rashi is doing what? He is taking what was stated in the Midrash, what? Further. In other words, he's adding his 2 cents on. And how many times have we read or we've seen people do that? Countless times, too many times, where people take things, and because a person does something, now the person or the mother or the father is blamed because of the child's actions. Well, this is not a child, this is a grown man, because if he's brawling or striving with a man, that means he is what? Of age. And he's a man, he's not a child, he's a man. All right, now let's look at that. Let's look at the backdrop. Now, this is once again where people began to add to it. This is the Sephara. Response to a legal dispute. Where is the son in this story going out from? And why does he end up fighting with another man and cursing Yahuwah? The Sifra Imor 14 attempts to fill in these gaps in the narrative with the following backstory. Now, once again, this is where issues come in. When we're trying to fill in gaps with other people's perception or perspective upon a story or history.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody has ever seen Jurassic Park? If you've seen Jurassic Park, you see where they took the DNA of a frog and they put it in and mixed it in with the DNA of the dinosaurs. Now, I'm just using this because this is what people do. In order to bring forth the dinosaurs, the T-Rex, the raptors. Now, the problem comes in is that if you're using frogs' DNA and you don't know if the DNA you have for these dinosaurs are going to bring out a perfect dinosaur, because number one, you don't have the right ingredients. You're using something else to fill in the gaps or the genome strand. That causes a problem because you're not going to have a perfect dinosaur. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
You're going to have what? You might have a SAR and you might have a dino, but you ain't going to have a dinosaur. Why? Because there is no guarantee that this is going to gel or going to correctly bring about the structure of the animal that you're trying to get. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Because that's frog DNA. They said, well, it'll fit because it's one of the oldest. What is it? Is it an amphibian? What's a frog? And an amphibian. So we're going to use that DNA to pull it in. So this is the same thing that they're doing. They're pulling in DNA from different strands or different scenarios or different people's perspective on what took place in order to give the backstory or give it a backstory, which we're not shown in the writings that it has a backstory. This is where I want us to understand. You are going to be judged by your own consequences. By your own actions, which brings about these consequences. You can't put it on a person. Well, they made me say what I said. No, you said it because it was in your heart to say it. Mm-hmm. You did it because it was in your heart to do so. And these are some of the things that we try to do. Many times you hear people say, well, them people forced me out of truth. Nobody forced you out of truth. You walked out of truth on your own. Mm-hmm. Nobody made you say the stuff you said but you. Mm-hmm. And this is where the issue has to be addressed and dealt with, because we want to put the blame on everybody else, but where it lies. Mm-hmm. And this is why I want us to see this. So now here it is. This is brought in. Now, and the son of the Yasharalite woman, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the children of Yasharal. Where did he go from? From Moshe court, for he had sought to pitch his tent in the camp of Dan. The other tribesmen said to him, what do you have to pitch your tent in the camp of Dan? He said, I am a descendant from the daughters of Dan. They answered that tribal portions followed the flag of house, the father. He appealed before the court of Moshe and lost his case. So he arose and rivaled Abba Yahuwah. Now, once again, this is a scenario because they're trying to understand why this young man goes out and he strives with another Yashraelite. Could it be he just said something to him and he was rubbed the wrong way? Or could it be he went out there just looking for a fight? They're really, at times, you don't have to have a reason for people to do the stuff they do. They just do it. Are y'all following me? They just do it because it's in them to do so. Now, this is once again what they said. And because he was angry because he didn't have a place in Dan. This is what happens. Now, once again, according to this interpretation, the son of the Yashraelite woman, who considered himself part of the tribe of Dan, pitches his tent in the Yashraelite camp. In doing so, he lands himself in a fight with a pure blood Yashraelite who disputes his right to a tribal portion, which is a patrilineal patrilineal, rather than a matrilineal legacy. You know, patrilineal means the father, matrilineal means mother, legacy. In other words, he couldn't pitch a tent there because his father was not of the tribe of Dan, only his mother. Okay. Now it says Moshe rules against the half Yashraelite, who then goes out from Moshe court and in anger at Abba Yahuwah, and Moshe blasphemes. He gets so angry that now he brings in Abba Yahuwah and he says something so hideous or whatever he says that everybody is like, oh, did you hear what he said? Now, many say this is the reason why, but it's after his fight because he's fighting them according to, once again, we're trying to build a backstory. Whenever there is no backstory, y'all, we don't need other people trying to fit one in. Because then that now you're trying to establish a blame on a people or establish a reason for why what was done when it was done. What could it possibly be? Once again, the reason is that he just strove with the man because there was a difference of opinion on something. Are y'all following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do we not see this sometime in Yashral on a consistent basis? And then the first thing they say, well, because you are this or you are that. No, sometimes it's just because of you. It ain't got nothing to do with anybody else. But there's a reason that these things are brought out. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
All right. Now, let's look at this. Now, when you look at and trying to use this, the daughters of Zelophehad, using that backstory, when they went and they were allotted the land. And they're saying it's a possibility that he went trying to use that as leverage to get himself in a place and also his mother in a better place and have a better status among the children of Yasharal. Are y'all following me? All right. Now, we see that part. Now, let's get here. Now, another thing that is brought about that here she is a struggling single mother. How is it that in the case of the son of Shelamite, Bat Debrai, the effort to speak goes so terribly wrong? Building on the rabbi's desire for a credible backstory to explain this cryptic troubling tale. Now, this is another person that wants to offer their backstory. Their backstory. How many backstories have I given you all? 2 to 3. I think I gave you 3. 2 or 3. 2 or 3 backstories. Now, when we read it, we don't hear a backstory. Now, you have to understand, if a backstory was needed, do we not understand that the Abba would have had those, or Moshe in that time of writing it would have given us a broader backstory? Are y'all following me? But it was not. We are given what is needed. Once again, it may seem like I'm going around grandma's house and back, but I want to establish something because sometimes we fall into these pits so many times and we start saying the reason they are the way they are is because the reason they did this is because, instead of looking at maybe the reason they did what they did is because it is found in them. There was an issue there, and that issue could be that he just got tired of being in that place or whatever, and he just decided to fight. Are y'all following me? My phone is acting up. Is my phone good? Okay. All right. Now, it's important. It would die now. Now let's read once again. We got 3 backstories. 3 backstories. Now this person offers their tale or their backstory about Shelamite the bride and the son she bore with an Egyptian man. The terrorist narrative of the Bible offers us no detail. Now, once again, this is the truth. No details on how this son came to be born and raised within the tribe of Dan. Boom. You're following me? There is nothing given. So if nothing is given, then that means nothing is supposed to be put in the place of it. Am I right or wrong?
God.
All right. Now, it is because of this lack of context that some of the Midrashic authors supply accounts of harlotry. And this is their problem. They're saying she's a harlot. We don't know if she's a harlot. We don't know if she's a slave.